Hi everybody, welcome to another Toy Guys Talking. My pleasure to have back on the show, Mate Mylar. How you doing, Matt?
Doing well. How are you making out?
Excellent, excellent. So I had you on a couple of months ago. Feels like a couple of days ago.
I know, it was like yesterday, right?
Time flies. And we were talking about some of the awesome photography that you've been doing. And I want to talk about some more of the awesome photography that you've been doing. But before we get to that, I just wanted to give a shout out to your hometown there, Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Yes.
And I just noticed during one of the recent unboxings that I did, this guy right here, Mercenary Wraith.
Yeah.
Did you know his file name is Charles Halifax?
Are you serious? No.
It is.
That's wild.
I
love it.
That's Halifax is not a name or a word that gets used like ever in like for any type of name or vehicle or anything like that. So I think that's got to be a tip of the hat to the city of Halifax. So I just thought I would mention that to you. This particular
very
figure
cool.
right here looks like he's a shout out to your hometown there. How's things in Halifax?
Things are good. Cold and rainy today. A little bit of snow, a little bit of rain, a little bit of ice. Wait a minute and that'll be back to sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how it is. What's weather in your neck of the woods?
Southern Ontario is more of the same. We've been getting a lot of snow. And then spring has sprung, and then we get some more snow and so on. The first thing I wanted to mention is one of the recent photos that you did was for the Imp, right? The Cobra Imp.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, this is a vehicle I've had for a long time. It just came in a lot that I won years and years ago. It wasn't something I ever wanted. It just happened to be in there, and I was like, cool. I was like, Goon, it's official, right? Yep. It's not a Lennard vehicle, although those are super cool. But I was like, I don't remember ever seeing the Imp when I was little, and I don't remember ever caring about it, but it's there, it's fine. Yep. And it's kind of sat off to the side of my collection, Cobra collection. And then I saw the picture for the folks watching along on YouTube. It's probably blowing out, but we've got Voltar, Destro's general, in the Imp. And that's just one of those, I guess a lot of people have told me a similar thing when they saw me put the 82 Joes in the Rolling Thunder, and they went, yes. So Voltar in the Imp, all of a sudden this thing that I don't really care about, and I was 5 seconds from putting in a box forever. I'm like, that is Voltar's tank. And that makes Voltar the Iron Grenadiers version of Sergeant Slaughter in the Triple T.
Yes, it made sense when you said that. I mean, yeah, it totally the yin and yang of that dichotomy there. It's kind of a false memory for me too, because like I always had Voltar. I didn't have the same sort of situation as you. I had one of the Imps, didn't have any of the parts with it, just sat on the shelf. It was on my bash shelf for the longest time. I'm going to cut that up. I'm going to use it for something, blow it up. I don't know, use it, whatever. And then I saw one at my local used toy shop for like $25. I'm like, yeah, okay, may as well. It was complete and
Canadian.
Yeah, Canadian. Yeah,
$5 Canadian.
Yeah.
See, that's still, if I wasn't using it for Voltar, that would have still been steep for me. I probably would have looked at that thing for $10 complete and went, pass. But worth it now for what it's true.
Absolutely. So I got a couple other things. I got that. And for some reason, I just felt like Voltar was the driver. Like I had this memory I couldn't really place down or put down, but I felt like that was an Iron Grenadier vehicle. And until I really explored it to take the picture of it, I'm like, he's not been in the Imp before, as far as I can tell. Where does this memory come from? So I completely made that up back in the 90s or late 80s. And yeah, I figured it was a thing that everybody knew about. And
nope.
Yep.
Especially because the Imp is a Cobra vehicle, and then the Iron Grenadiers were this cool faction that was like a definite breakaway from Cobra. Mm-hmm. So it's funny to me that they brought out the Iron Grenadiers and the Battle Force 2000 at the same time. And you remember I think some Grenadiers vehicles actually had the Battle Force 2000 logo on it, which is bizarre. Really bizarre. But Battle Force 2000 was part of Joe, right? So you could put those guys in Joe vehicles and Joe guys in Battle Force vehicles. But for me, that was like the line you do not cross. Grenadiers never, ever, I didn't have any, but like if I did, or if I went over to my pal's house, my godbrother had a bunch of Iron Grenadiers. Never put a Grenadier into a Cobra vehicle, and a Cobra's never go in the Grenadiers vehicle, because it was like, it wasn't a Joe versus Cobra war anymore. Now it was a three-way dance, a triple threat. The Grenadiers were their own thing, so I never even thought, and now I'm curious to see what other things cross over really well, and I started to do that. So there was, what was the toy line? Valor versus Venom, I think it was. They did an APC.
Yep.
You know the one I'm talking about? They recolored it in black and red and gold, and it's a Cobra APC, or APC Transport, I think is what they call it. But there's no way that's, like, you look at that, and despite the Cobra symbols, and I think it's from 2002, that is an Iron Grenadier APC Transport. The one they never made, and they should have. That is unfinished business. Ka-ching! Let's put the unfinished business stamp on it.
Absolutely.
And my Destro Iron Grenadiers collection has sort of had a gap in it. Sort of felt like it needs one more big thing. And the Razorback, I'd like to have one, but it doesn't really scream Destro's Iron Grenadiers to me. It's just like this big gold thing. But that APC, I got to get one of those now, because like that looks like that's where you put all your Iron Grenadiers now, and they don't have to run.
Definitely.
So I got a picture request, and no rush, because I know with requests they can take a lot of time. Especially,
I am in.
Especially if you have other stuff lined up. But I would love to see a picture of Voltar in the Imp going into battle against Sergeant Slaughter and the Triple T.
I need a Triple T. There's one in Halifax, complete, that I'm probably going to pick up very soon. It's actually sitting next to a stun with the flags, complete.
Oh, cool.
There's no price on the stun, which makes me a little leery, but I'm getting them both. It's happening.
Oh, that's awesome. With Sarge too?
Oh yeah.
That would look so awesome. And I think having both of those going against each other really increases the value of both of them, because even the biggest Sergeant Slaughter fan looks at the Triple T and goes, what the hell? The only reason it ever gets somewhat of a pass is because the Sarge is in it. And the Sarge was in it when he first rolled into stores, and it's like, it's Sarge's thing, it's his thing. And I feel like the Imp is the exact same thing for Voltar. Like, I've gone from looking at that going, what the hell, to I can't picture Voltar not in that thing. The colors go perfectly. And also, like, the figure is such a cool figure, but he was lacking, like, the firepower. He's got the eye patch, and he's got the vulture, which there's lots of places I would imagine on the Imp you can attach the vulture to as well.
Definitely. And he's so high up on the food chain in the Iron Grenadiers. He needs more prestige than, just having a vulture sitting on his shoulder there. So yeah, having the vulture being like the harbinger, they're coming.
I like that idea of Destro, like, kind of mind-blowing that they released the Iron Grenadiers, and in the first wave you get Destro, the leader. But they gave him a general, and that's what really made the Iron Grenadiers to me like a legit third faction. Even though they didn't have a lot of figures in that first year, Destro had a general, so I'm thinking he must have so many army builder Iron Grenadiers. Like, he's got a second in command. This is amazing. We're recreating G.I. Joe's command structure of Hawk and Stalker, and then later Hawk, Duke, Flint. So, yeah, anything to make Voltar a little cooler, a little more imposing and deadly, instead of just sitting in a demon, which is what I had before, right? He's just sitting in a demon. You don't even see him in there.
Exactly. I mean, it's going to be a bunch of demon drivers that going in the demon that I have in the mail. I have to admit, since the last time we talked, I've branched out from 82 to 85. I've got a couple of Havocs now. 86, 87, Tiger Force is filling in. I just started army building Grenadiers, which led to this whole thing, and I think the summer might be like Iron Grenadiers versus Tiger Force. I feel like those are two factions that like Tiger Force didn't really have. They had Python Patrol to go up against, but that line was really lacking. You have the ASP, but you don't have any Python Patrol vehicle that can tow it. There's no tow hitch on the stun.
That's right.
So like that was kind of a useless vehicle in that line as far as I was concerned when I was that age. But now I have both of them and they're great. But yeah, I feel like Tiger Force needed that big enemy to go up against, and the timing is just right for like a big Iron Grenadier army and in the desert and jungle, and have at it.
I love the idea of the Iron Grenadiers going against Tiger Force 2 because Battle Force 2000 doesn't cut it.
No.
I'm not a Battle Force 2000 hater anymore. I don't think I ever was, but I certainly didn't like them very much. I had a few of them when I was young, but it was like kind of more of a habit buy than a, wow, I got to have these.
Yes.
Especially since the ones I had came in 2-packs, so you're stuck with 2 of them instead of 1 of them. But I recently picked up some of them again for a great value, and you know what, they're okay, but definitely like when we're talking about level of awesomeness and coolness, Iron Grenadiers are like way up here. I think I might even like the Iron Grenadiers more than Cobra, to be honest. It also helps that they're so finite. Like they made a few of them and then they stopped, and I'm not really all that hot on the second or third wave. Did they even do a third wave? I'm talking about like the Annihilator and the
yeah, when the colors
Target.
start to stray. Target. Yeah, like
Target.
what? Yeah, they don't feel like they fit. I mean, I'm sure they're awesome characters on their own, but yeah, they don't aesthetically. They don't look like they're a part of that army.
We want that color scheme retained, and that's when the whole line was going that way, though. Like it wasn't just let's change up things for the Grenadiers. It was like let's change up things. Everyone needs lime green pants or bright orange pants or stuff like that. So yeah, the Battle Force 2000, that doesn't really interest me, even though that's by design how it was supposed to be. Battle Force versus Iron Grenadiers, I don't care, but Iron Grenadiers versus Tiger Force would be, I think, especially for pictures visually, that'd be a really awesome sight. Now, attention to detail, you got a crazy amount of, in a good way, a fantastic, a wonderful. I've been thinking about Crazy Rich Asians too much, that movie that Snake Eyes, Henry Golding is in.
Yeah.
And so this expression, I thought they were crazy in the movie. I thought they were crazy Asians that were rich, and it turns out they're just crazy rich. Like it's very rich, crazy rich. So crazy detail, that means lots and lots of detail in today's lingo. Your pictures have so much attention to detail, and especially like when you're recreating the box art. So I wanted to ask you while I have you on here.
Yeah.
How crazy did it drive you?
I think I know where this is going.
I might surprise you, but in the old sense of the word crazy, how crazy did it drive you when you did the shark box? Yeah. And you had to, is that the one you thought I was going to ask?
Not at all. Not at all. This is great.
You let me know what you thought I was going to say, but in the shark one that you did, you put Deep Six upside down.
Upside down?
Because there's just, I mean, if you put him in the way he is on the card art, he's staring right down at the floor of the shark.
You can't see him. Yeah, I took creative liberty on that and purposely put him in the other way. I had him in the quote unquote right way, and I'm like, this is like, he's looking at the floor. Yeah, he's looking at the floor. He's got that peg sticking up.
His hands are by his side.
Yeah, just like, what are you doing? So, I mean, at least the other way around, I can pretend there's a heads-up display on the canopy, and his hands are kind of in the right spot to drive the vehicle. So, I take full responsibility for that. But
I love it. I love that you were like, you got the amazing water effect. The guns are shooting incredible. The explosion in the back. You even have smoke there to simulate, I guess, the water mist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that must have killed him because that figure ain't good.
Nope.
He's great, but he ain't good.
Nope, that's for sure. I adored him as a kid because he was so different. Like it felt like he fit he was made of the right plastic, and he had that GI Joe smell when you got him, if you got him brand new and whatever. So it was never a question of this doesn't fit in this universe, and I was really drawn to it because it was odd and weird and different. But like he's Stickman, like
bizarre. Like they couldn't have put the arms, just the standard. If they wanted to do the pump gimmick, fine,
no problem.
But the arms, they couldn't give him swivel arms?
Really? Even at the elbows, I would have been okay.
Is it a rusting issue? Does he not have any metal on him? Is that the thing?
I think that might be it. Yeah.
Okay, so they didn't want rivets in there. They knew he was going in the water, so the shark too. I guess that follows.
Yeah.
We're solving unsolved mysteries here. That's why your Deep Six sucks.
But it's interesting. The reissue is the same way. I mean, they didn't really improve that a whole lot.
Right. Yeah. And the new ones don't have any metal on them anyway. Do they?
I don't think so. I haven't had one apart.
Something inside.
Hard to say. So it's odd they went that way.
Well, it's nice that with the modern one they really tried to capture the spirit of the original one, and they were like, the spirit is Stickman, so. But it was nice that they made his helmet removable, at least for the modern one. What did you think I was going to ask you about?
Recently, I posted the bomb disposal, and I was very happy with that. Except as soon as I hit post on Instagram, that's it right there. You'll notice that if you reference the box art, there is something missing: the mine.
Oh no!
Down below. Yes, by the tread, I left the mine out.
Oh well.
That one kills me.
I wouldn't have noticed that, actually. I would have focused on the figure and the bomb disposal unit, but I guess when you go to that level, hey, at least you got the bomb on the front.
Yeah. Now, I did a tripwire one a long time ago, and I forgot the bomb, the mine in that one as well. So I have some sort of subconscious aversion to putting mines in pictures when they're supposed to be there.
Here's one you could do with tripwire. I've been reading the original G.I. Joe comic, and I just recently read the issue where tripwire is introduced, and he's a klutz.
Yeah.
So G.I. Joe's bomb defusal expert mine detector is a klutz, and he's dropping stuff. Maybe, for a fun one, him, tripping and the mines are flying all over the place. Maybe, I think, is it Gung Ho in the comic catches them? Or someone catches them.
Yeah.
And they don't realize what they are.
I love that introduction where I think it's CoverGirl's taking out all the Hiss tanks with her Wolverine, and it's like, who got the last one? I ran out of missiles or whatever it was, and so, oh, hi guys, it was me. I'm the new. Whoa!
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes from destroying a Hiss tank single-handedly to can't stand upright. That's the beauty of Larry Hama's G.I. Joe.
You know what? It's interesting. I read the first 10 issues of the NAM recently, edited by Larry Hama, and there's a radio op in that series that is excessively clumsy, and I have to think that there's some sort of connection between him and Tripwire.
Yeah, Joseph was telling me about the NAM and highly recommending it too, and there's lots of similarities between early G.I. Joe and the NAM, so that is definitely one on my to watch list as well. And I noticed you're doing some more non-G.I. Joe pictures. So you got good old Omega Supreme in there. Is that Siege Omega?
That is Siege Omega. I found him for a smoking deal when I was on the tour a little bit around Christmas time at a comic book shop. They had a no tax sale, so it was like $125 cheaper than Amazon.
Whoa!
Yeah. So yeah. It's here. It's like I've got a Christmas bonus. I'm doing this. Yeah, here it is. And the lady that I bought it from is like, oh, some kid is going to be some happy at Christmas this year. I'm like, I already am.
Yeah. Oh, you're still getting that. I remember going to toy stores as a teenager and getting that, sometimes getting the attitude from the cashiers, like, who is this for? And like, I remember as a younger person, it used to be really difficult, like I'd be self-conscious and it's for my friend's, nephew or something. But yeah, I luckily not long after that hit in just a confidence level where I was like, it's for me. I love this stuff. What do you love? You know, that's always been my attitude. Not just to say, hey, I love it, leave me alone. But I've always asked people, what do you love? What do you love? And because when I was a little more rambunctious and a little more confrontational, my strategy was, what do you love? Because I wanted to kind of give it a jab in the ribs and a little left hook. So what do you love? Horseback riding, and then like. Well, that's a bad one because I wouldn't say anything about horses, but stamp collecting. It's like, oh, stamps are disgusting. They taste gross and they're silly. And who would do something like that? But most of the time throughout my life, when I've asked what are you passionate about, the answer has usually been Bupkis.
It's funny you bring that up. I've been noticing more and more lately that, and for me, like, I've always had something I've been passionate about, like music and collecting GI Joes, comic books, drawing, that sort of thing, artistic stuff, I guess. And I just kind of assume that other people are that way too, that they have something they're passionate about, and maybe that's what they do for a living, or maybe they just do their 9 to 5 and then they go home and they get to do the thing that they love or whatever. Or maybe it's their family or their dog or their pets or whatever. But there's a lot of people that don't really have that, and that was kind of a mind-opening experience for me when I realized there's a lot of people that just do the day in, day out, and don't really have that thing that they're super passionate about. And I think that's really sad.
It's one of the real like eye-opening things you learn throughout your life is that people aren't like you. And like I think most people go through life thinking, well, people are like me. I mean, that's a big reason why kids get made of in school, right?
Yeah.
You're not wearing clothes that I would wear. You're a loser. Or you don't like music that I like. You're you're different. You're bad.
Yes.
Bad. Different is bad.
Exactly.
And one of the main goals in life, I think, to aspire to is to understand, empathize differences, embrace them, encourage them, to the point where when you're not even involved, when you just see one person telling another person, that's stupid. Why would you like that? That's stupid. That you can step in as like a third party, uninvolved third party and say, knock that off. That's not cool. That person can like what they like and you can like what you like. What are you passionate about? And then, I don't know. But yeah, I've, when I was younger too, I always used to think like, isn't everyone, I'd always get like, you have too much time on your hands when I could quote Star Wars.
Yeah.
And that was in the 90s. I wasn't even a little kid. Like in the 90s, I was quoting Star Wars and people were like, what movie are you talking about? I'm like, what movie? Return of the Jedi, 1983. What the hell are you talking about? What movie? And they just, I don't know. And, or G.I. Joe or Transformers. And yeah, that's one of the things that I've come to realize is some people just aren't into, obviously they're not into the things that I'm into, but it's weird. It's still weird, but it's okay. It's fine. I mean, everyone, is different, but it took a long time to wrap my head around. Some people just aren't really excited about anything in this amazing world. One of the quotes that I really love about that, Viggo Mortensen, I wish I knew it word for word, but the essence of his quote was, there's never an excuse to be bored. Tired, yes. Angry, yes. Crazy, yes, but never bored.
Yeah.
It's like, how could anyone be bored? Find something. Take the deep dive into it.
Exactly. There's all kinds of stimulating things out there. You just have to find them. The internet is great for that. I mean, if you're looking for a place to start, but
oh boy. Well, the internet and stimulation, yeah, that's the internet, I think, is actually a great place to exercise self-discipline too, when it comes to passions and stimulation, because there's too much stuff on the internet. I'm talking about the adult stuff where people just, that's all they ever think about. But the internet has so much really fun information on it too, not just cool pictures or cool videos, toy videos to watch, but there's so much written stuff. There's amazing blogs like Battle Ram, if you're a He-Man fan, Battle Ram over at, I think, on WordPress. all these great articles and old school advertisements, stuff like that. There's 3D Joe's, which, you know, the website as well as the book. It's not just pictures. It's articles. It's opinions. Yo Joe is fantastic for that as well. I don't know if Transformers really has anything like that. TF Wiki.
I've looked for it. Yeah, that's all I could find was the TF stuff. Not as like a deep dive, or not as easy to peruse and parse and find the stuff that I was looking for when I was looking for Transformers information, specifically G1 and toy releases and things like that, and whatever it's called in Japan, the all the Diaclone stuff and.
Yeah.
Takatoku. I can't.
Takatoku Toys.
Yes, whatever that is. However you say that thing. Yeah, all that stuff. I mean, super interested in that. And the Robotech stuff. I've been seeing some pictures recently that have jogged memories. So I must have been like maybe 3 or 4, and I don't know who in the right mind would give a 3-year-old that Robotech toy.
Yeah.
But I have this memory of it. So. I had it as a kid, but I don't know where it came from. I never watched the TV show. I didn't know what it was about. I probably tried to play with it with He-Man or something like that. And
would that have been like an original like Takatoku, like Jetfire basically, or
no, like the transforming bike, and had all kinds of battle armor that would come off, and you could configure it, and it was kind of like Constructs or Lego, and I don't remember if it had a figure with it, so I might have tried to attach it to He-Man and broke it, or I just didn't know anything about this weird, wacky suit of armor transforming motorcycle bike thing, and all of a sudden I'm seeing it everywhere recently.
It's kind of funny. I've noticed some of the age warnings on some of the items. Like I was doing a video on Funko Pops, and I've never really taken a close look at a Funko Pop until I, looked at that cool Storm Shadow one. And then some of the Loyal Subjects, little kind of same idea. It says on them ages 14 and up, adult collector.
Yeah.
So, like back in the day, Robotech, ages 3 and up or ages 5 and up, whatever it was. And now like a Funko Pop, which... who could possibly hurt themselves with a Funko Pop, but ages 14 and up?
Yeah.
Where are we headed? Like in 15 years is like, a G.I. Joe 6-inch figure going to be ages 35 and up?
Yeah. Must have a driver's license to buy this figure.
Oh God. Must have gray in your beard.
I'm already there. That brings up a question that I have for you. What do you think about the 6-inch G.I. Joe rumors Hasbro offering?
I think it's a done deal. I think it's 100% guaranteed. They have to do it at this point. It's not like they should. They have to. They have to. I mean, there's in terms of G.I. Joe, I can't remember anything being more in demand than a 6-inch G.I. Joe scale. Anything like that. I can't think of a figure or a vehicle. There isn't even that much demand for a flag reissue as there is for 6-inch G.I. Joes. And I'm super excited after seeing the Star Wars 6-inch figures because, for as a detail person, the detail is going to be so good. It's going to be what we got in the 25th anniversary line, better. Or done right. So more of like I'm imagining the removable harnesses, but more detail on the harnesses. Like maybe we'll get to, how in some of the harnesses the grenade was molded on. Maybe the grenade will be removable. Maybe the pin will be removable. Like it might be like Mezco type of stuff. Just really, really, sorry to disappoint anyone if this doesn't actually come to be, but I'm thinking of the incredible potential for this. I'm thinking of some of the Hot Toys where the gun isn't just a pistol, but it's got the sliding lock thing on it, clips, removable, which some of the modern figures had, but they're really flimsy. Sometimes they would crack or break the rifle. That's going to be a little more sturdy, a better suited scale for it. And I'm just excited to see the love and the attention to detail that was shown to the anniversary figures done in the 25th scale, in the 6-inch scale. Right. So just like, if they can get that original card art And there it is beside the figure, and there's the figure in a resealable clamshell. Like, we want to be able to put this stuff back. That's important. I guess a box like the Star Wars figures come in boxes would be okay. I mean, it's about the figure at the end of the day, but the art is so important. That's what Carson has been trying to get across for years, and I've been too in my videos. Like, the art is just as much a part of the character. You know,
absolutely.
Many of us saw the art before we saw the figure. That's what grabbed our attention. You see Recondo, and then you look at the figure, and the figure is just, I'm Recondo. But then you look at the art, and every time you look at the figure, you see the art. You don't see the figure. You know, so I'm super excited. What do you think?
I'm honestly looking forward to it. I hope it's going to be great, but I'm cautiously optimistic. But I'm also concerned too, because if they're really good, then I'm going to have to get into 6-inch figures, and I'm not into 6-inch right now. So my biggest concern is the scale and the size. And I mean, for me, G.I. Joe is about the interactivity between them and the vehicles and that whole thing. So I absolutely can't get into 6-inch scale vehicles. Like, ruin my life right there.
I might make an exception for a 6-inch scale Sky Striker.
Okay, yeah, you kind of got me on that one.
That's something you can hang from the ceiling, like you have hanging behind you. And I don't know. Yeah. I wanted to mention quickly. That's such a cool idea of having a Sky Striker and a Rattler passing each other. I love the smoke effects you have going on them. I don't know if you have them doing it, but if I ever do that, I'm having both figures do the salute from the Shakedown issue of the Marvel comic, because that is one of the greatest moments in any comic ever. End of the issue, and they salute each other.
So good. Incredible. And the backseat drivers are like, "What are you doing?
Why? Kill him!"
They were originally posed like that, but I've had them out of their cockpits to do other things, and I just threw them back in real quick so I knew where they were. But when I originally set them up like that, they were posed in there saluting.
Well, like this.
Exactly.
Who do you want to see in the 6-inch scale? The leaked list has been let out, but
none of those on the first wave are disappointing. They all look. I think those are going to be solid characters. Obviously, Cobra Commander. I'm surprised there's only one Cobra offering. It's not a bad Cobra offering. I don't think it's going to. Yeah. I don't think it's that first wave is going to tie into the Snake Eyes movie. Otherwise, I'm sure we would have seen a Storm Shadow instead.
Yeah. And you'd think he'd be in there anyway, but I guess they're pacing themselves.
Yeah. Now, I have heard some unconfirmed rumors that some press people have seen massive displays, but can't talk about it yet. So I don't know if that means like a lot of 6-inch figures, or I just don't know what that means, like video games or tie-ins or what the product actually is. But who do I want to see? I mean, obviously Snake Eyes. He's my number one favorite. He's always kicking around somewhere.
Which version? 82 or 85?
That's the 85.
85. So that's the one you want them to do first?
That is the one I want them to do first. To me, that blends the perfect amount of ninja and commando. I mean, Snake Eyes isn't just a ninja. He was a commando first. He was in Vietnam and had that whole experience and whatnot. And then to me, the whole ninja thing is like after the fact. He's already a very deadly trained soldier, and he's already Snake Eyes, in my opinion, before he gets the whole ninja aspect. But to me, that's the perfect blend. I mean, it's got the grenades, it's got the arrow, and Timber. Absolutely.
Can you imagine if they did that figure without Timber? There's so many things that could go wrong here.
Yes, that would be a huge letdown.
That'll be a lot of pressure on Hasbro. I mean, they're like, doesn't matter what we do. I mean, there's going to be people who are going to. Although leaving Timber out is, I don't want to sound like I'm making a big deal over a toy, but the wolf comes with the 85 figure.
Absolutely.
Period. If my mic was cheap, I'd pick it up right now and I'd drop it. Timber comes with 85 Snake Eyes.
I'd make an exception for the 82, 83 one just because of the cartoon. I mean, that's where they first got together.
Yeah.
So I mean that wouldn't break my heart. That all being said, I went back and I reread the Snake Eyes trilogy from the Marvel run, and as a kid, I had issue 2 and 3 of that three-parter. I never had issue 1. I didn't read issue 1.
Now, fill me in. Snake Eyes trilogy, was that part of the regular like numbered issues, or was it a separate thing?
Yeah, it was. I want to say like 90s, like late 90s,
Is
just
that
before.
when the mask came off?
Yes,
Okay.
he just had the facial reconstruction. I
Okay.
think a few issues before that, they showed how horrible he looked.
With the
I hadn't seen that. Yeah, exactly.
my
I
impression
hadn't
of
seen that
Snake
as a
Eyes
kid.
without his mask. Did I get it?
It's like Jigsaw.
It is.
But I guess he had reconstructive surgery, and Scarlett's with him through this whole procedure, and he's all drugged up on the medication coming out of the surgery, and because of that, he's able to get captured by the Baroness. The Baroness shoots Scarlett in the head. Everyone thinks she's dead and whatnot. They capture Snake Eyes, and so when I started reading that story as a kid, it was Snake Eyes demasked, looking normal blonde hair, blue eyes, stripped down to just like a loincloth basically and chained up, and there's these 3 torturers, and each one of them have an aspect of his like the sword costume or the knife costume. So one has the helmet, one has the sword, or has the mask, and one has the sword, and one has the rest of it or whatnot, and they kind of look like Dreadnought rejects. They're not really named characters. I'm not sure if they're like vipers or whatnot, but they're supposed to be these torture specialists that the Baroness has deal with Snake Eyes while she runs interference because Destro doesn't know that she has him captured. And anyway, so I just thought that these guys captured Snake Eyes, took his costume off, and were wearing pieces of it to taunt him because I hadn't read the first issue. So going back and reading that, I realized that no, when Snake Eyes breaks out and takes these 3 goons out, he takes each costume and makes his own, and that's how we get that
89.
89. Yeah. So I already had the figure, and obviously it's the Snake Eyes trilogy, and
How crazy
I
is
have
that?
to-
He's right behind me.
That's it right there. Yep. And yeah, I just thought that was so interesting to see how that came about and how it twisted my remembering of the story, because I just assumed something else and hadn't seen the first part.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool how he pieced that figure together, and I knew I smelled something was happening because I had the figure and I loved it, and like, you know, it was amazing that Snake Eyes made it to version 3 before anyone else. So many Joes never even got a second version, and here's this guy getting his 3rd version already. So when I saw that character in the comic with that mask, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. And then the knives, I'm like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And I remember getting the figure, and I thought he was cool, but at the same time, I thought the boots are off. The boots don't look like boots Snake Eyes would wear. So I guess in the comic that kind of makes sense, because if he's a Dreadnought reject, he'd be wearing like giant motorcycle boots like that.
Exactly.
The other question I had for you, I just saw this one. You just recently put it up, the snow picture,
Ah, yes.
and we got a little bit of gore going on here.
A little bit.
What is that stuff? How'd you do that?
That
Oh,
is.
there he is.
Yeah.
It's
I
just a
thought that might
flesh
come up.
wound. I'm learning
That
in the
is-
G.I. Joe comic that getting shot doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. Hawk taking 3 rounds in the back. He'll be fine.
No big deal.
Scarlet shot in the head.
Yep,
We should walk
it's
it off.
Absolutely fine. Yep, no problem at all. That was hot glue and translucent red paint.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So you painted it after it dried.
Yeah, so I just take like a glass bottle or something and take the glue gun and put a little dab down and then hold it upside down, and the gravity of the weight of the glue will just kind of drop it down a little bit. And I got a piece of like a toothpick or whatever, just a little piece of wood, and just kind of pull at it a little bit until I get something that I like, and that'll dry like in seconds, and pry that off the glass and paint it up and leave the spot where I'm going to attach it to the figure. And I'll just heat that up with the glue gun, put it on, and the hot glue just comes right off the figure. No residue, no problems at all.
I like that you didn't go overboard on the blood, because they never did in the comic either.
No.
It's still true to like the Marvel comics. One thing that would make it even more true, maybe black. color it black? Have you ever thought of doing black?
That's a great idea. I wanted it to kind of shine and sparkle. I wasn't sure if that was going to be the focal point of the picture or if frostbite was going to be the focal point and that was going to be blurred out. So yeah, I went for like a really vibrant red and actually had a flashlight pointed right at that. So maybe get a little bit of specular sparkle on there. And at the end, the focal point on frostbite really didn't allow the scene in the back to translate so much. So that's why I put that one up. But I wanted something with a little more weight than what I usually do. So I teased it with my story with a couple of pictures before of frostbite and Snowjob getting all suited up and in the cats in their outpost in the Canadian Arctic. And it's like a day like any other day. We were in full kit like any other day. And so I wanted to have a little bit of a story and a little bit of weight to it and kind of leave it up in the air. Well, did like they both get out? Did only frostbite get back? Did what happens next? I'm just kind of gonna leave that until I get inspired, or just leave it forever. We'll see.
Have you ever done any pictures? Because all the pictures that are on your Instagram look like they're all done in the studio with lighting. Have you ever gone outside to try to replicate some of these effects outside? Like you'd have to bring a power unit with you, I guess, to light up. If they'd even show up outside, unless it was night.
It depends upon the angle of the sun. There's a lot of trees in my backyard, so I can probably do something there. I have been thinking about it since I started making things blow up in pictures. I do want to do some outdoor shots, but I have to be really stealthy about it. There's a lot of really young neighbor kids that like to play in my backyard, and I'm all for like kids playing and being outside. So I'm like, dudes, do whatever you want. I don't care about my yard. You just have fun, be safe. If anyone gets hurt, come knock on my door. I'll sort you out. I'll call your parents. I'll do whatever you need to do. But yeah, so those are the ground rules. But I figure if I start taking these toys outside with explosions and whatnot, I'm going to have way more help than I absolutely need.
Yeah, and sometimes help just slows you down. I know from the old days of, sometimes doing indie filmmaking, the crowd can really, what are you doing? And it was always funny to me that, I'd be very intense and go, and, like, okay, you need to put the light over here, need to put the camera. Oh, what are you doing? Like, I'm looking at the sun peeking behind clouds. I'm like, I'm just getting some video here or something. Oh, what's this for? I'm like, can you hang on one sec? And then the sun is behind the cloud. I'm like, all right, hi, I'm Mike. Yeah. And I know when you talk about the position of the sun, I deal with that all the time too, because I'll peek out the window. Oh, there's sun. And, I want to take something out there and get a particular picture, but, it's 10 o'clock. It's too early for where I know I want to get the shot with something behind it, river or whatever. So I think, I got to wait until about 2 o'clock. Sun will be over there. Shadow will be like that. It'll be lit up properly. 2 o'clock comes clouds.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Try again tomorrow. Here's one of the shots of Ironhide. Is that Siege Ironhide?
That is Siege Ironhide and a Heat Viper missile coming out of his...
Cool idea.
Yeah, it was the perfect size.
And those things are so posable that you can get some really good poses, like holding on to like a giant Gatling gun, as Ironhide would. Mm-hmm. Do you have any G1 Transformers?
I've got Optimus and Ultra Magnus, but just the white inner version. So basically 2 Optimuses.
What could you do with those in this style of picture? Like, because they're Optimus has a little bit, but not much. But like, especially like the 84, 85 Carbots, I'm talking Prowl and Trax and stuff like that.
None of those.
They're like Deep Six,
Slag.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's not much you could do with them. Unless they're in car mode, peeling down the road or something. Exactly.
I've thought about Soundwave. I've got him in a couple of cassettes. He is a little posable. There's some interesting things I might be able to do. I accept that challenge.
Good luck. I wasn't requesting it. I think you got a lot more like posability with the modern stuff or even masterpiece stuff. But like, because I was thinking like, if you want a real challenge, I don't know if you have them, but maybe someday if you ever track them down, like a Mate Mylar style action photo of G1 Ironhide.
I'd have to figure out the head. How would you like?
What head? I just,
Oh,
it's just a mess. It's just a mess.
yeah,
What's
it is.
On that note? What's the ugliest toy you've ever photographed and tried to make look pretty for a picture?
Ooh, the ugliest. Just looking around my Joe room here. I don't want to say ugliest, but the most difficult one I did was the range, the Cobra rifle
Oh,
range.
okay.
Yeah. Because he's from behind and he's in a kneeling position that you can't really do. So I had to take a lot of artistic liberties with that.
Right.
And just the whole posing and everything, it blocks a lot of the toys. So that one was a big challenge to get it to read that, okay, A, there's an explosion in the background, and B, there's targets that this guy is shooting at, and there's actually a gun going off. And to get the depth on those three things to read, that was very difficult. So
that kind of goes hand in hand.
Ugly.
That kind of goes hand in hand with the G1 Transformers. Sometimes those original O-ring Joes, they're limited in their posability. But just looking through some of your pictures here, you get a lot of posability out of them. I don't know if there's a little sticky tack involved there to help them not fall over. You get them to just stand like that. You never use any foot stands or anything like that?
I will use foot stands. I have some blacks and browns, and then I'll just put some gravel over top. Yeah, so foot stands do come in place. I don't use sticky tack just because I haven't got any, and I keep forgetting to buy it every time I'm at a place that sells it. That would be very convenient instead of me just like holding my breath and keeping my tongue right and placing it in just the right place. But for the most part, it's it's just like pushing down and making sure that the center of gravity is in the right place, and that's pretty much it.
That's my biggest challenge when I take them outside, especially in the snow. I mean, you can get them secure, but then they're up to their hips in snow. Like, that's not going to work, or even their knees. We're in the sand and stuff. So I kind of run and gun when I take my pictures. And if I can't hide the stand, which I normally can't, or I don't want to dirty it up or anything like that, I take a picture with the stand because it reminds me of the catalog pictures I used to see.
Right.
In Sears and Consumers Distributing and all those different catalogs, because that's how the toy photographers used to do it. Like, they would just put the guy on a stand in whatever set they created.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, the stand is just as much a part of the figure as the backpack and the gun and the helmet. So I see the stand and I go, part of the toy. And I understand how some people can say, it takes away from the photo if you can see the stand. But I would really appreciate it if those people who think that would go, but I see how you think that the stand is just as important to the figure as the backpack and the helmet and the gun. So, it's good to see things from all different points of view. And that's why most of the time I'll just be like, the stand is there. The stand is cool. I love those vintage stands.
Yeah, I mean, I can throw rocks in front of them too, depending upon the angle of the camera. So, I mean, you might see the top of the foot, but because of the angle, the stand is below the rock. And I mean, the rock would be way in front of the actual figure too. So, I mean, like here, I've got a bat on a stand right here. Wow. That's all lit up. So let's just say Snake Eyes is a rock, and like I can put the rock way out here or way up there, and then you're not seeing the stand instead of getting it so close, and then your mind is like, oh, there's a rock in front of his foot, and that's obviously hiding something.
For those who are listening along on the podcast and not seeing this, Matt has a light hooked up to an exploding bat, and it is amazing. His head is coming off. It's like a still frame of a bat being blown apart. And yeah, you can control the light on or off. Yeah. It looks beautiful. That's what bats are good for. getting
They
destroyed.
are.
Blown up.
That's just hot glue and LEDs and a little bit of orange translucent paint.
Are we going to see one where a Cobra Trooper is being blown apart, a snow serpent, and it's all red, lit up red?
I'm not
Or
super
red
into
cotton?
the very gory stuff. I mean, I could totally do that, but
Well, there's an audience for that, but I don't think it jives. Personally, my personal opinion, I don't think it jives with the original 80s,
no,
intention of G.I. Joe, cartoon or comic. Even the
no.
comic, which was a little more mature, didn't go overboard on the gore. I mean, when all those Joes got killed, it was very, did that just happen? It wasn't like pieces of skull. It wasn't Walking Dead or anything like that.
No. I felt like it was enough to serve the story, to give it enough weight, but not too much that it's just gratuitous for like the sake of violence.
Yeah. So what's next? Can you share with us what you're working on in the next few weeks or months?
I am working on some mechanized versions of.
Ooh, Cobra.
Yeah, that's a Viper, and I've got the story goes. It's called Metal War, and the story goes that after the Autobots come to Earth, there's a big war, and they choose sides. You got the Joes and whatever, and the factions, blah blah blah. So we get through all that. That's whatever. But out of that, Joe and Cobra both get some Transformers tech. And so here's a cross between Hound and Clutch.
Wild.
And I'm calling Hutch.
Cool.
So he's got the little shovel here on his chest that will come off just like the
Nice.
Vamp did. And he's got a little gun in there, and he's got a gun on his backpack. Oh, that'll fall off.
Have
there.
you designed this yourself?
Well, these are Bandai model kits. Like Gundam type model kits,
Yep.
But they're not from any specific series. They're called 30-minute missions, so it takes like 30 minutes to put them together. You don't need any modeling skills, which I don't have any. But they're highly customizable and paintable and whatnot. So I saw them at my comic shop, and they were like $15. So I'm like, okay, well, for $15, I'll spend a Saturday afternoon snapping together a plastic model. It turned out to be highly articulated and easily paintable. So I watched some YouTube videos on model painting and whatnot. And on Twitter, I follow Painted Plastic. He does all kinds of Gundam builds and custom G.I. Joe stuff and whatnot. So take some of his suggestions. And I figured, well, I can probably do like a Sky Striker themed mech suit. So I've got some actual Tomcat model kits to take the missiles out of that at the right size. I've got parts for a Rattler. So I'm going to do a mech Sky Striker versus a mech Rattler with the big Gatling gun on the Rattler and the missiles for the Sky Striker, and have actual 3 3/4 inch Joes be their like not their pilots, not as if they're inside of them, but they're their handlers. So each one has a handler that goes along with them. And I've got a Snake Eyes mech in development and some Storm Shadow mech and whatnot. So there'll be the mech versions versus each other, fighting alongside the actual Joe versions of each other. And it's just this weird thing I wanted to try with modeling and just to learn the skill so I could eventually build that big Cobra helicopter, the Aspid, whatever, from the yearbook #2 that I showed you last time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just a fun way to learn those skills. And like I said, army building the Iron Grenadiers, so I can do a big summer war between Tiger Force, and just continuing on with the box art, so I can do an actual book, as Carson from 3D Joe's suggested, do a book of all the box art recreations from 82 to 85. So I've got 3 or 4 pieces that I have left to pick up in that range, and then I've got everything except for the flag and the those foam gliders that I'm just going to pass on.
Mm-hmm. It's funny how some of these pictures end up in your Instagram timeline. We've got this incredible mech right here. That's one of the mechs that you've put together. And then right beside him is the good old snake, which is just this. Ooh, that's a shiny one, though.
That is a cobalt blue Black Major custom.
Oh, so it's kind of chromed?
It's very chromed.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah. I've got the cobalt blue one, a silver one, a gold one for Destro's Iron Grenadiers, and a black one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I've always loved the snake, even though it's bulky and it doesn't do much. I love the idea of having a figure in there.
Yeah.
Like just the one of the big disappointments of the original Transformers line for me was they didn't have figures to put in the Transformers. They did in Japan, but they didn't bring the
Right.
Diaclone drivers over to North America. And Mask was so cool because they had these little drivers that could go in the vehicles. But like in GI Joe, I mean, there's lots of vehicles that you can put a figure in. But I love the idea of a figure completely enclosed in a robotic mech suit, kind of like that GoBots. I think it's called Courageous,
Mm.
because it's you put the GoBots in the power suit and then the power suit combines. But yeah, the snake. When I finally got it, I was like, this is really cool.
Yeah.
It's kind
I
of it's kind of like a bat, although like a precursor to the bat.
I was going to say I see it as the precursor. Like it was in development. That technology got upgraded into and eventually led to the bat. It's funny. I recently watched the Mass Device again, and as a kid, the scene with the snake armor, like they were terrifying to me. These robots
Yeah.
without anything in them that can move, and they look like rocks from behind. I was confused why the toy didn't have the rock on them from. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, watching it again and seeing them spin them around and whatnot, like there's nothing terrifying about that. But just me watching it as a kid, they always terrified me. So as an adult, like I guess I have that thing in the back of my head, like this thing is serious. When Joe sees this on the battlefield, like this means business, and you're on a whole different level of hurt.
And I don't think they use the snakes very often in the show. And,
Not a whole lot.
and certainly, I don't think anyone was ever in one,
I
which is
can't
really
remember.
weird. You'd think that at some point a Joe would have commandeered a snake armor. Lots of times they steal the outfit and they put the outfit on. But you'd think someone kind of like Chewie and the Ewoks in an
Yeah.
ATST, you'd think a Joe would get into a snake armor. But then again, in the Sunbow show, they like to get cheeky, so maybe they'd put Polly in there or Timber. Woo! That's probably how to end up Junkyard in a snake armor.
Yeah. Now I think Snake Eyes and Quinn. I don't want to ruin anything for you, and
That's where
if
I
you
am
haven't
right now.
got
Yeah.
there yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think that might have something to do with the snake armor at some point.
Ah, so the snake armor does show up in the comic.
The snake armor is in the comic. Yeah, I won't tell you how it plays out, but yeah,
Awesome.
you'll
I,
see it.
I just got to the point where they did a little gambling and Snake Eyes, I guess it finally, I've always, like the term Snake Eyes is a bad thing to roll
Mm.
in craps, right?
Yeah.
But in that particular game, that was the point of the game, right? You got to roll Snake Eyes. That's all we're doing here. And like reading that was like, oh, okay. I've always associated it with a bad luck thing.
Right.
But this guy's a ninja who can actually control how he rolls a dice. Like he is a loaded dice shooter
Yeah.
type of thing. It's not really cheating if you're
He has the ability to throw. Yes, exactly.
with the
That
precision.
sportsman. Yes.
So
Like throwing darts or something.
so that just goes to show you that after 35 years, what is it now? 40 years maybe, something like that. You can have an aha moment like, because I go all the way back to seeing 82 Snake Eyes on a peg and going, what does Snake Eyes mean? I thought it was literally this guy has, or like not literally the eyes of a snake, but he's a bad hombre. He's
Right.
got those piercing cobra eyes, which is why I was so confused. I thought he was a cobra, but yeah, it's just a dice rolling thing, which I think really humanizes the character. He's this mysterious, mystic, masked. Who is he? What's his story? Well, he's really good at craps.
Yeah. Well, I was the same as you. I took it as like Snake Eyes and like rolling Snake Eyes in the bad sense, but everybody else when they see him, oh, I've rolled Snake Eyes now because here he comes.
Right.
That was kind of my interpretation of. But I like yours better. Like this is good luck because I can roll whatever I need to roll whenever I need to roll it.
Yeah.
So
The,
Snake
the,
Eyes.
the precision of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't come up with character names like that anymore. Larry Hama really, not just that character, but dozens and dozens of characters. He just, Recondo, short fuse, Sometimes the name didn't even have to be associated with the weapon or the military specialty of the character. And a name like Short Fuse has everything to do with the character's personality.
Yep.
And nothing to do with his specialty. The guy has a short fuse. He's and again, as a kid, I was like, what does that mean? Like, when you have a short fuse on a cannon? And I found out, no, a short fuse means he's very impatient. Don't tick him off. He's, got a short fuse. And then other ones are more appropriate, like Zap.
Yeah. I think Breaker is maybe one of the most apt. Besides Cobra Commander. I mean, that's just right on the nose.
Right. But yeah, you had to name him Breaker, and looking Grunt is pretty fitting. Flash. Grand Slam, that's another one that I just recently realized, oh, that makes sense, because Grand Slam I always associated with, he comes with a big gun, kapow, Grand Slam. But I just read the issue where he works over Major Blood. I'm like, oh, yeah, literally slam. How many times did you hit him? Well, just once or twice. Maybe a dozen. So the guy, all the figures are the same size, and he was never in the cartoon. But in the comic, they draw this guy huge. He's big and muscular, and he packs a wallop. So now when I think of the code name Grand Slam, it's more to do with how much of a punch he packs.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite Joe?
Snake Eyes.
Yeah. Who's your second favorite Joe? I mean, that's mine too. But Duke?
Yep.
Who's your third favorite Joe?
Third favorite Joe? Gung Ho.
Gung Ho. Sometimes you got to go through some of the layers on the onion to get the surprising ones, right? Because it's Snake Eyes, Duke, Hawk, sure.
Yeah.
But
Gung Ho, I love the colors. I love that blue along with the chest tattoo and the marine and the green and with the gun, just everything. As soon as I saw him, that was it.
And do you prefer the Cajun accent in the comic or Chris Latta's more gruff, tough guy approach?
I'm a Sunbow guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the comics, when I read them, I hear the Sunbow actors.
Yeah.
But when I read Gung Ho, you read the dialogue as it's written, but I hear Chris Latta doing, hey, mon petit. So it still works.
I saw some clips. It must have been like the Deke series. I'm not familiar with that at all.
Sorry.
But
I'm so sorry.
and seeing characters that I knew sound different, like
awful.
It was so off-putting. Yeah,
awful.
yeah.
It's not just that they for me. It wasn't just that they sounded different. It was that they sounded the same. This is the real paradox about the Deke series for me. They sound different, but they all sound the same.
Yeah.
So they didn't get a lot of the original voice actors, but they all sound like this. We got to go out and save the day. They captured Sergeant. So you can have a conversation between 8 guys who all sound the same. And I exaggerate a little bit, but that's certainly how it feels in the heat of the moment. We got to go get Sci-Fi, guys. Well, where is he? Well, he's over by that hill. Well, I saw him. Oh, well, what are we going to do? Like, can someone just not pronounce a line like that? And I was doing some clip hunting for an upcoming video, and it needed some clips of Ambush. So he's kind of like that. He's got a little bit of a different regional accent, but it's still kind of that type of delivery. Like everyone's like sitting on a toilet or something. Like they've got that clenched type of delivery. Now, the really weird thing about the episode that I found to get the clips that I needed, this was just so bizarre for me. So you got your new Deke cast, but they had Sergeant Slaughter in it, like the actual Sergeant Slaughter doing the Sarge. So that's weird. The real Sarge is in this. He sounds fine. Chris Latta is in it doing Cobra Commander. I'm starting to get confused here. And then the really mind-blowing part about that episode, I think it was called Evie, I Found You, or I Found You, Evie. Sci-Fi. Same voice actor as the Sunbow show. Just kind of that cool, laid back, deep voice. And that is Sunbow voice acting. That is not Deke. He's just got that smooth as silk with a little bit of grit on it. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, Sci-Fi. That's the right Sci-Fi. Different design of the character. It's the new black Sci-Fi. And General Hawk is there. Ed Gilbert from the Sunbow run, and he's in his jetpack outfit. And I was so confused because like half of this sounds right. Because the Sunbow actors read their lines like they used to on Sunbow.
Right.
Not like the Deke actors, but then they'll cut to a Deke actor, one of the new characters, and
Yeah.
what are we gonna do, General Hawk? Listen up, men. We've only got one shot at this. All right, General Hawk, what's the strategy? Everybody relax. Hawk's got it covered. What are we doing, Hawk? All right, yeah, Hawk, what are we doing? Is it good? No, it's bad,
Yeah.
but it could be good. So close. Have you watched any of the Deke or tried?
Just in in the context of a review or whatnot on YouTube, I haven't actually legitimately sat down. And from what I've seen, I really don't have any desire.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe someone could do a good fan dub of it. The animation is workable. I'm just thinking the voice acting and especially the music is, for me, is brutal. That music is so not good. It's even worse than Cops music. Like in the world of Cops, I can kind of, go with wah, 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 doo, doo, doo. But the G.I. Joe music is so generic. It's just lacking that snare drum and that cool 70s funk that the Sunbow show had.
Exactly, the horns and all the brass parts. Oh, it's so good. The little bass line in the back and the synthy stuff, and yeah, so good.
Yeah, that was really disappointing that they had the perfect storm. They had all the incredible ingredients, and then they just started cutting ingredients and going,
Yeah.
That's not what makes G.I. Joe special. That's not what people want. It turns out, you couldn't cut a single one of those things out. And Deke is what you get, unfortunately. I keep trying. Every once in a while, I'll want to grab a clip of a later post Sunbow figure.
Yep.
And Deke is there. It's footage, and sometimes I try to get some Sunbow voice acting, or even what I'll do is I'll take a voice clip from a totally different show. Just a totally different animated show, and put it over top of a Deke clip. Sometimes I'll do that for Transformers too. If there was a show only in Japan with no English version, and take this because it sounds right. It's like, wait a second, that sounds like a Sunbow delivery. That sounds like a Sunbow actor, the way a Sunbow actor would deliver a line. It's robotic. How'd you do that? But these things you got to get around, because if I just use the D clip as it is, oh God, it's not good. It's supposed to be good and fun, not disappointing. Well, this chat has definitely not been disappointing. I've had another blast talking to you. We're past an hour right here, so thanks so much for taking time out.
Thank you.
Chat with me and chat with the tribe. I'm sure everyone loves to hear from you, and if people want to check out some of the stuff you're working on, you're on Instagram and Twitter as well, right? Instagram is the main place still?
That's right. Yeah. Twitter's just for B-sides and whatnot, but great community on there. It's smaller than Instagram, but yeah, there's all kinds of people that shout out, and like the Full Force and Merkin Sampler, Mr. Mike Finn the Pit. All kinds of people. Little Wookie. Yeah.
Has your Instagram, as they say, blown up?
I'm not sure what blown up is from my perspective. Absolutely.
It's grown.
It's grown a lot. I started when I started posting dios that I was building with explosions, I maybe had 88 followers, and I'm 1680 now.
Yeah, that's great to see. That just I hope that serves as an example and an inspiration for folks who want to get into that kind of thing, any type of photography or anything on social media. If you care, if you're passionate, if you take the time, put the effort into it, if you do good things and you share, good things happen. You will attract positivity and positive people. So I'm very happy to see your Instagram growing like that. That's well deserved, good brother.
Thank you.
And your Twitter as well is
the Ghost Machina at the Ghost Machina. That was a one-man band thing I was doing back in the day, and I just changed the whatever that you call it. It's like at Mate Mylar on Twitter now, but it's really at the Ghost Machina.
Sweet. Yeah. So for folks out there who are Twitter folks, you can check them out there as well. And you've also got your own Patreon as well, which is patreon.com/Mate Mylar. So I'll put the links for everything in the description of the video on YouTube, as well as over on or wherever this podcast is. So it originates from Podbean, and then it goes all the way out to places I don't even realize. So if you're listening to this out in podcast land, in your car or over at work, thanks a lot for loading us up. Hope you enjoyed this chat. If you enjoyed it and you have some time, maybe leave a review, whatever, hit those stars or whatever the heck they do out there. It helps the show, apparently. It helps it get out there. Sometimes I get these statistics. I don't know where they even come from, but I get emails and saying, here's how your podcast is doing. So I wanted to give a shout out to Ireland and New Zealand, because apparently the podcast is doing pretty good over in Ireland and New Zealand. So
amazing.
If you're listening over there, thank you so much, guys. Glad you're enjoying the podcast. Australia as well. It's doing well. It's being listened to in the States and Canada as well, but on those charts that I get, Ireland and New Zealand. So that's awesome.
Wow.
Here.
Great.
So thanks again, Matt. That was a lot of fun, and looking forward to the next one.
Me too.
And everyone else out there, thanks for listening. And until next time, Nerdmas Day, good brothers, good sisters. Take care.